Who gets what, when, and how is politics, and this is our business on Political Voices. Nigeria, a country of over 160 million people. Political Voices is gauging the temperature, setting the agenda. Political Voices exclusively on Dream FM, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Good morning and welcome to Political Voices on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. Political Voices is a session of comments, interviews and analyses of trending political stories as they affect and shape the world around you. Today is Thursday. It is the month is gradually wrapping up. It is the 30th day of July 2020, and this morning our focus turns to the politics of presidential succession in Nigeria. We look at the matters arising from that. But before we get to that, there are matters arising from the political space. All right, socio-political organizations in the central and southern parts of the country on Wednesday took a swipe at Mamman Daura, a nephew of the president, President Muhammadu Buhari, over his comment on the zoning of the presidency in 2023. The organizations include the Middle Belt Forum, Ohaneze Ndibo, Afenifere, and the South Elders Forum. In separate submissions, the Mamman Daura called for competence. Yes, that's of course the organizations said in their separate submissions that Daura, which is Buhari's uncle, benefited from zoning in 2015. And they also said if Buhari were to be assessed based on Daura's call for competence, the president was incompetent given the way he had been handling affairs of the country. That's according to that submission from these groups. But the Pan-Northern Socio-Political Organization, the Arawa Consultative Forum, said zoning was alien to the constitution of the country. Of course, Daura had, in an interview with the Hausa service of the BBC, which was monitored, said that the country rotated the presidency thrice. He stated that this by turn, it was done once, it was done twice, and it was done thrice. It is better for this country to be one. It should be for the most competent and not for someone who comes from somewhere. All right, but of course, other groups in the country have different things to say. Ohaneze Ndibo speaking, Chifunia Omodo is the President General, but speaking through his advice on media and publicity, Chief Emeka Atame said Daura's statement was self-serving. Okay, then. There are a lot of matters around that. We'll come back to that issue because it forms the basis of our discussion this morning. And there are many other submissions, even the one from Issa Funtua shortly before he died. He granted an interview, which, of course, gave credence to some of the issues that we are seeing. And, okay, there are strong indications that the Ondo State Deputy Governor, Mr. Agbola Ajayi, has concluded plans to dump the People's Democratic Party to join the Zenith Labour Party, ZLP, to contest for the forthcoming governorship election. Ajayi, who lost the PDP primary to Itai Ojegede last Wednesday, reportedly held meetings with the leaders of the ZLP as well as the national leader of the party, who is also a former governor of the state, Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, to work out the details. And we should also tell you that the federal government on Wednesday released the schedule for various national examinations for exit classes from August 17th to November 18th, 2020. The government said the senior school certificate examination conducted by WAEC would commence on August 17th. All right, we know that. Remember, we are having a TriCast experience here on social media. You can watch us live wherever you are via your social media. Here, of course, we are live on our YouTube channel, Dream TV, and you will do well to subscribe and turn on notification. And on Twitter, it's Dream925FM. Do well to make your contributions there. And on Facebook, it's 925 Dream FM. Stay with us. The process of selection or election of successive Nigerian presidents has been the one that is shrouded in political and ethnic controversy. Mamman Daura recently called for merit as against the previous style of zoning. Now the question is, has presidential zoning failed? Is it impossible for zoning to produce competent leaders? And why is this call coming now that other regions, especially the southeast, want a bite at the cherry? But is Nigeria a turn-by-turn democracy? That is quoting Issa Funtua in a recent interview. We will find answers to these questions because I'm joined by three gentlemen who will do justice to this. I'm joined here this morning by Barrister Chijo Kabo. He is an Enugu-based lawyer and a political analyst. Good morning to you, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Alex. Thanks for having me.
We also have in the studio this morning Dr. Desna Aja. He's a versatile pundit and former head political advisory and consulting Neighbor to Neighbor Nigeria. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Alex. Good morning.
And also,
good morning, my lord.
All right.
Okay. My pleasure.
Also joining us, he's a journalist, Comrade Ken Ofoma. He's the acting vice president, NUJ Southeast Zone. He's also a commentator on national issues. Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here among gentlemen.
I mean, my big brother, I think it's always good to be with journalists on issues like this. Very good.
Thank you.
Yes, it's been a while. All right, so gentlemen, I'll start by asking Dr. Desna Aja this question. What's your take on the statements credited to Mamman Daura, specifically, because that's the main focus? Why suddenly are we talking about competence as against the known culture of zoning in the last 20 years?
In the Hausa Service interview granted by Mamman Daura, who is a nephew of the President Muhammadu Buhari, he said Nigeria had tried the so-called turn-by-turn democracy by making one zone to produce the president and another one to produce a successor, and that has been tried 3 times without success. And they said what we should be talking about should be competence, someone who would unite the country. But you know, it is not an isolated statement, Alex, because some of the people of northern extraction have indicated their unwillingness to relinquish power to any other zone of the country. You know, Issa Funtua made several statements to this regard. Even the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, wants to talk about something that showed the possibility of not trying to challenge for power again in 2023. And it has not always, the mouth of, the lips of Ahmed Rufai of Kaduna State is never dry about talking about the not coming out the candidate in 2023. And I recall that during the Puta panel of 1999, that a certain northerner made a bold statement that the North decided to concede power to the South, and that was what gave rise to Obasanjo presidency. It means they have always taken it on their own that the North has power, and that power should belong to the North and go to wherever the North wants it to be, and that if the North wants it to remain within the northern frontiers, that nobody should challenge. So that is the substance of Mamman Daura's statement that the North is not ready to relinquish power in 2023. You know, we recall that this succession has always been contentious. You know, sometimes a departing president will want to pick a successor who is weak. And but right now, for this man to talk about competence, if he had come from a sincere mind, then we would have been celebrating to talk about Nigeria having a competent leader. But he is speaking, and he is supposed to be a member of the kitchen cabinet of a cabal that is running right now.
All right.
And I equally agree with Niamud that competence, if measured, then the test will not be passed by the president. who is in power right now.
All right. Thank you so much. Barrister Chijioka, what is the position of the Nigerian Constitution on the issue of presidential succession?
Well, I think it was Dr. Nnamdi politics is what you make it. Constitutionally speaking, there is no provision that says the presidency of Nigeria must be rotated on the basis of zones. But it has since become a rule of political practice, a convention, in Nigeria, because of the fact of the level of our societal development. You cannot compare Nigeria, for instance, with the United States, where somebody served as vice president for 8 years, President Bush, then served as president for 4 years. His son, in the same generation, served as American president for 8 years. And another son of his also served as governor of Florida, for the period. So you begin to, are you going to compare that kind of society with Nigeria? Bill Clinton was president for 8 years. The wife served as Secretary of State in America and still came back to want to become president, all in the same generation. Such a thing from being contemplated in Nigeria. And so the issue of competence is very central, is important, for a society that is working and working well. But the level of our development in Nigeria today does not call for that. Because if that were to be the standard, are you going to say that the incumbent will be qualified on competence? And then is there any zone in Nigeria that doesn't have competence? I doubt it. Besides, that statement coming from Daura, they say, outside the constitution, or wanting to now enforce the constitution, is itself self-serving, as the PA to Chief Modo said. Because the North has always claimed the basis of competence. Then that goes to show that power should shift to the area that is supposedly educationally advantaged, where we will get competent people. But that's another case. Answer you directly. No, there is no constitutional provision that says you do this, but it has become a political practice since the Third Republic.
All right, then. Thank you so much. Comrade Ken Ofoma, is zoning a faulty system of selecting a Nigerian president?
Zoning is not a faulty system at the level of our development. At the level of our development, zoning will create balance, zoning will create stability, zoning will make for peace, zoning will make for a sense of belonging, zoning will eliminate discrimination and cries for marginalization or cries of marginalization. So in our level of political development, we always say it took America 200 years or more to be where they are. These politicians, when you tell them that we are not moving at the rate at which we are supposed to be moving, they'll be quick to point to you that Nigeria is still young. So we are still young politically, we are still young developmentally, we are still young even mentally to even talk about removing things like power shift, power rotation. But if you do that on the basis of so-called competence, then what they are now saying is that every other aspect of our national life should be thrown to competence. The competence should determine even admission in unity schools, even appointment of ministers. Maybe they should write aptitude tests to know the best to be appointed, irrespective of where he came from. And indeed, other things that we are doing today that seem to favor one group against the other. We have always given an example of this issue of educationally advantaged. So if people recognize that they are educationally disadvantaged and therefore they should be given some concession, that somebody in Zamfara will score, for instance, 8 marks and we get admission, or somebody in Abia will score, a child in Abia will score 180 marks and yet not get admission in government federal colleges. So these are what we're talking about. Is it for competence that you now have all the security architecture being headed by people from one section? Does it mean that you don't have competent people from other parts of the country? But beyond that, because we know that it is not a statement made out of fair and balanced mind. It is a statement made, for me, out of political mischief. If you consider who is making the statement, the time the person is making the statement, and the position of that person, and where the person is coming from. You know that Mamman Daura, many people don't even know him before now, except me mentioned in passing as one of the Kabas. This is somebody who was not elected, but because of his proximity relationship with the president, he's occupying the Aso Rock, one of the occupants of the villa, and that in itself is creating problem. Quarrels between his children and the wife of the president. You also know that he has been a taciturn, somebody who does not talk before now. And when you list him as one of the Kabas, you list Issa Funtua, who just passed on the other day, as one of them. He came out in the national television, Issa Funtua, to agree and say, I am one of the Kabas. And in that interview in Arise Television, they even asked him, do you agree with power shift? And he said no, that is about population, it's about who has the majority. So, and that man has passed on. He did not even live to see 2023. Now, you remember also one of the Kabas, the late chief of staff, also passed on. He did not live to see 2023. Having passed on these two members of the Kaba, it remains two. Talking about Mamman Daura, talking about Babagera Kingibe. And we are told these are the Kabas have passed on. And you consider the fact that the North had clamored for power shift. During the 2015 general election, former governor of Niger State, Babangida Aliyu, was one of those who came to the National Convention of PDP to say that there was agreement in 2011. That was why they supported Jonathan in 2011 to go back. That after that 4 years, that we will not contest again. Right. It was a part of the turn of the North. Okay. And so when you put all this together, you now see that, like I say, it's a political mischief.
All right.
Because
about why this call is coming now. Why don't we hear this in 2015? Why is Mamman Daura speaking now and not in 2015 or 1999 or 2003? Why now?
You see, I told you exactly what happened in 1999 regarding this issue of power rotation. That they not believe it is their own power. You recall that you have Enugu State as co-city state, and then you have Abia as every state has its own slogan. But one of the northern states will say, "Born to rule." Because that shows you that they have their own psyche, that Nigeria belongs to them, and that they always determine who should be the leader of Nigeria. And that was why in 1999, that person who was testifying before a national panel watched on international television made the bold statement that they not decided that it was a decision of the North that the Southerners should be the president in 1999, and that Obasanjo was chosen by the North. So it is not a question of what is coming now. It has always been there in their psyche that Nigeria is for their own, and then they can already determine what happens. So even in 2011, the challenge came on that Goodluck Jonathan should not contest. Even there were arrangements when Yar'Adua died. People like Babagana Kingibe, who was Secretary of State, the Secretary to the Federal Government of Nigeria, was already warming up to take over, jettisoning provisions of the Constitution that the Vice President should take over. Even the wife of the President, Ture Yar'Adua, was acting as president when the man died, and they were hiding the facts. And then you come up to what happened in 2011 when the party PDP authorized to accept to run for only one term. And even Atiku and others who were supposed to be in opposition went to the marketplaces to talk about South dominating the North, that the South had taken power since a period that under the democratic principle, that what they recognize in the Nigerian context is not a South and nothing more. So when they talk about these things, it's not. It is something they believe that is theirs, and they can always decide where it goes. So I am not surprised that Mama Daura is saying it right now. They said it in 2015. That was why Troy, so many northern leaders of the party left. So many comments were credited to the president and his wife to destroy PDP, and people collected money without campaigning. Then they took power, and they no longer want to relinquish it right now. They want to hold on to it. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll try to bring Dr. Chijioke Agbo to the conversation very quickly. You've heard everything that's been said, but the problem is that those saying it don't seem to have any position in government, and it makes it a bit difficult to know what the position of the president is on an issue like this. So I've asked you a question about the position of the law on the issue of zoning and succession. You've laid it out clearly. But what then is the fate of Nigeria? Shouldn't the legislature be working on something that can help this country not get into a problem of selecting who the president should be and where the president should come from per time?
Well, I believe that the work of the legislature is to oversee the democratic process, as it were, and the activities of government. But you must remember that the incumbent president has not been a talking president. He's just been sitting there and talking through aides and through people that have been described as cabals, and those are the people that fly the kite. And he does not come out to, distance himself from such positions. He just keeps quiet. And I believe that silence in that context means that he approves of the statement. Otherwise, the president would have said something, particularly when it is coming from somebody who is close to him, who is his nephew, who occupies the presidential villa with him, even though he's not an elected person or a presidential appointee. But the Constitution also makes provisions to recognize the diversity of Nigeria. For instance, when it talks about federal character in appointments and in things like that. My good friend, Comrade Oforma, mentioned it, about appointments. And Section 14.3, specifically talks about federal character. Why is it that we will not reflect it so as to keep the unity of Nigeria, so as to give a sense of belonging to every part of Nigeria? There is no part of Nigeria that you can describe as being so laid back that they cannot find somebody who will be competent enough to give leadership to this country. I don't think so. But as I keep saying, the basic problem of the Nigerian state is the process of leadership recruitment. It has been alienated from the people, as it were, and the people that say they are stakeholders, or the people that dictate and dominate issues in political parties, are the people who have hijacked the system. And you will discover that those who are incumbents or dictate who will get what, as it were, who will succeed into which position, as it were. And so the people in general elections are just thrown to a situation of fait accompli. They really don't have a real choice. They are really not involved in the process. So that has been the bane of the political process in Nigeria with respect to throwing up the political leadership. Look at the present one that we had. As unelected military head of state, his minister then, a certain Air Commodore Hamza Abdullahi, I don't know whether he's still alive or so, when Nance, a body of young Nigerians that represent the conscience of the nation, protested against payment of school fees that was introduced. He called the northern students and told them, don't join your southern counterparts. Payment of school fees has been alien to the north and will continue to be so. So such arrogant statements, when they are made particularly to young people who are growing up. You give the wrong signals, and you show that there are people who are first-class citizens and people who are second-class citizens. And I think the forces are building up. I do not think that such assumptions will continue to work forever, because consciousness is building up and people are beginning to assert their rights. I listened to Chief Nyawodo and Chief Clark, yesterday on television on this issue, and I quite agree with them. They made brilliant submissions, with respect to the presidency of Nigeria and the zoning process. There is no reason why a particular section of the country must arrogate to themselves the right to retain power. Although in a democracy we must concede that the majoritarian principle holds sway. But there are guarantees for minority rights. There are guarantees that in a society you must accommodate other interests in order to hold the nation a stable place. Otherwise, there will be problem. Look at America. It happened in America that in their lifetime, a man of African descent became president of the United States, notwithstanding the population of people of African descent.
All right, and thank you so much.
Now, you see, when you talk about these legalities, you recall also that even legal principles provide for doctrine of necessity.
Sorry.
So that kind of takes care of the issue of zoning not being constitutional, but practiced as a kind of norm, and it cannot be jettisoned. It's a convention, and then it's something that you cannot wish away easily.
All right, I want to quickly get the thoughts of Comrade Ken Ofoma on the issue of how we will sort out the issue of who becomes president and when and from where. What do you think should happen, and we can get to the point where we can select who the president should be and from which region, and not have rancor over that matter?
Well, the first thing to have in our mind by the political actors, if they are sincere, is to understand that this power shift or power rotation is helping the country. From the First Republic, we have always had a tripod: the North, the Midwest, the Southwest, and the Eastern region. So that is before we again adopted this convention of 6 geopolitical structures. It is not in the constitution. But we discovered that everything being shared today at the federal level is always being done based on geopolitical structure, based on Southeast, South-South, Southwest, Northeast, North Central, and Northwest. 6. And so, by 1999, when we entered into this current political dispensation, it was, like my co-discussant said, a convention. Let's take power to the South. It should be rotating between South and North. When it comes to the South, the 3 geopolitical zones in the South, we rotate it among themselves. It goes to the North, the 3 geopolitical zones in the North, we rotate it. That was the idea. It was sort of affirmative action. It was not written anywhere, but it was a convention, because they recognized this will help to create political stability. It will help to eliminate cry of marginalization, like I said before. And so it is in the same manner that the politicians should agree that this power should go to the South. And that when it comes to the South, the sense of natural justice, which zone within the South has not held the power? The North, the Southwest under Obasanjo held it for 8 years. Then by a stroke of luck, the South-South through Jonathan also had it for nearly 6 years. The only section that has never tested it, power. But in struggling for power, you also make this allowance, this room. There is no corner of Nigeria that you don't have competent people, if you are really looking for competence. And so it is for the political stakeholders and also for the Southeast to also play their own politics well. Even this comment that Mamman Daura made, for me, it is like, testing the waters. Our people should not even shout themselves hoarse or at the same time go to sleep, but go into the drawing board to begin to also strategize. But there is something immoral about this comment now.
Okay. Then.
There's something immoral about it. And that thing is that you look at somebody of that, in that place of Mamman Daura, somebody close who has the ears of the president, somebody who lives in State House with the president, somebody who acknowledges that he has direct access and he advises the president, even though he does not tell him what to do or what not to do. One would have thought that his priority now should be to guide the president to steer the nation out of this economic doom.
All right then.
One would think that his priority should be to how to arrest security situation. He's interested in 2023, talking about who occupies what position. People are being killed in southern Kaduna. Just yesterday in Kogi, 14 persons. What? Insecurity. Last week, Monday, 19 military officers were killed in around Katsina by insurgents, by bandits, whatever name, by Boko Haram people, because they are the same.
All right.
They assume different name in different places.
Okay.
In yesterday, a convoy of Borno governor was attacked, and these are our politicians and people who have access to the president. They are not affected by this. They don't think about the welfare and how to develop Nigeria. They are thinking about next election.
I probably should ask a rhetorical question. Are you sure they have access to the president? This is Political Voices on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM.
Somebody who lives with
and this morning we are talking about the politics of presidential selection in Nigeria matters.
You see,
arising.
Alex, there is something we can't continue to protect the president by thinking that what some of these people say are not coming from him. If you are a competent aide to someone, you don't make certain comments because something heard from you is always believed by the external society to come from your principal. And that is why those of us who have been aides here and there are always conscious of what we say about political issues. Because right or wrong, if Ken Ofoma, who is a journalist, becomes the press secretary to the governor and he makes a statement, even if he's not the press secretary, he's attached to the government house. He writes a story. That can be attributed to be from the Lion building. And
nobody from the presidency has written anything or said anything regarding the subject matter.
If somebody is actually, I've given you names.
If you read that,
Mamman Daura,
he acknowledged.
What is
very often.
Yes, but Mamman Daura,
and you know exactly that Nasir El-Rufai is the other side of President Muhammadu Buhari.
Yes, I mean,
and you equally know that Ahmed Lawan, I quoted him at the beginning of this discussion. He has always been a boy to the president. So when they say this, and they have empirical evidence to believe that this is the voice of the master.
We have to hear from those listening to us. This is Political Voices on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. We're taking a look at the politics of presidential selection in Nigeria, the matters arising. And of course, you can send your message on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, where we're streaming live videos. And of course, you can call our studio lines or send a WhatsApp message on 0902 0020 925, or you can call 0809 8888 925. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Alex.
What's your name and location?
Yeah, morning to my leaders in the studio. And my regard to Dr. Chiu Niago. My name is Chris Bami from Kogi State.
You're welcome.
Alex, let me begin this way. It is a very hard one for me since yesterday that I got the news from Mama Daura. This Mama Daura has never talked about the suffering that the Nigerian masses are going through since she has been there, romancing with the president. This same Mama Daura has never talked about the killings of innocent citizens in Katsina State, in Kogi State, in Benue State, in Kaduna State, and all over the country. And you can see that we are in 2020. Daura is talking about who will be the president in 2023. This is a clear evidence that these people who are closer to the president does not care about the welfare of the masses. It is very, very unfortunate. But one thing is this: that's why that we are talking about zoning or this and that. It's zoning constitutional. Zoning is not constitutional, and it will shock you that in 2023, even the Southeast people that are canvassed for presidency in 2023 will compromise. Will compromise to support people from the north to continue with power. If not, it ought not to be so. Let every part of this country.
Stephen Bame, are you making a prophecy?
Yes, please.
Are you the man who saw tomorrow? Thank you.
I can't get you clearly.
I'm
but
sorry.
what I'm saying is that power should be rotating among the Nigerian people, among all the political zones. Let all the zones test the power. Let the people feel the partners.
Right.
It shouldn't be one thing for one ethnic group. It is not good like that. It is not good. Let this reign by turning power to other regions. Thank you for giving.
Thank you so much, Stephen Bami. Just keep your comments short because we'll have an extended set of panelists in the studio. Call us on 0902 0020925 or 0809 8888 The politics of presidential selection in Nigeria. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
What's the name and location?
Good morning. My name is Linus. I'm calling you from Ete.
You're welcome, Linus.
Alex, I especially greet your team of analysts this morning. They are wonderful. You see, the problem with presidential succession or selection of president in Nigeria is unfortunate that the East, in fact, the entire South have not really understand what the North is saying. The North have never believed that there is vision. They not believe the North and South. And that is the signal they are sending to you. And then the intelligence I want to share with people from the East, my brother from the East, from the South, from the Middle Belt this morning, is that they should protect their territory. They should work as a team. It is our turn in the East to have the president. The presidential seat is our turn. They are beginning to make comments that will incite us.
All right, then. Thank you.
I'm also the West is on complicity with the North. They does not believe for what they are saying. I want the Middle Belt, the South, the Southeast should work as a team so that we can deliver this message to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your call. If you call us, do well to keep it short, so that we have a situation where we have ourselves a good time to tidy up the analysis. And we'll read some of the messages from our social media handles. On Facebook, 925 Dream FM. It is Amadi Prince says presidential selection in Nigeria has only taken two shapes, between northern part of Nigeria and southern part. Other geopolitical zones are considered as minority group. Former President Jonathan, of course, you have this from Cyprian Nicodemus Mbobu says, good morning, Mr. Alex, discussants in the studio. I want to say that zoning formula is not bad because the system can still produce presidents with good heart. All right, but the problem is what the statement from Maman Daura. All right, then. Gabriela Uju Anago says, Mr. Alex, I can hardly hear what your guests are saying. It's only your voice that's clear. All right. Okay, then. I'm sure you can hear me now. Do well to send another message to confirm that you can hear me. Some of us are wearing masks, so that might be affecting what we're saying. And Ejimbe Sonny Bernard says, good morning, Chief Alex. I'm not a chief, please. See my humble recipe to Nigeria's problems. And he says here, zoning number 1, 6 years single term. Number 2, two-party system. Number 3, the economic federalism. Number 4, reduce the amount of allowance paid to political office holders. Number 5, electronic voting system. Number 6, That's quite a long list of suggestions he's making. Let's take some more calls now. Hello. Good morning. All right then. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Alex.
What's the name and location? You're welcome.
Alex, there is nothing wrong with what Mama Dora said. Mama Dora is a Natana. And no Natana has come out to criticize you. You see, people say that it's easier said than done. You see, zoning is a political party issue. You cannot force, for example, the APC to zone their presidency to the Southeast or any place. You have somebody in the Senate for getting to 20 years now from a particular local government. What about the other people from the local government? Are they not part of that territorial zone? So you cannot force a party. Rather, now the Southeast to break PDP, but they have been supporting for 20 years. And we are discussing their presidency to the Southeast. That's the party that did a Southeast should be fighting. So you don't do it here, sitting down here talking. You rather go out there in Abuja and do the politics. The Westerners are there talking. We are playing the politics. And we are here talking every time. It's our right. Is it your right?
All right, I'm sure you've made your point. Another call beckons now. Hello. Hello, good morning. What's your name and location, please? I can hardly hear you.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, faintly.
Okay, my name is Comrade Marcel Enechi. I'm calling from Enugu here.
All right.
Now, good morning to your guests.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Most of us, we looked up and saw that particular message came from Mama Daura himself, which I totally condemn. At the end of the whole interview, he ended by saying that somebody who is competent. Then what came over me, my person, I'm asking myself, is the present president of Nigeria, is he competent? So why should somebody be trying to even do politics when even the time is not there? So for we to even not even pay attention for what he's saying, because most of the zones, they benefited from this particular zoning. It cannot reach to the time of the Southeasterners. Then somebody in the north is trying to say another thing. So please, let all the Southeasterners, let's start to engage other zones. Forget, regardless of what is coming out from the Mama Daura himself.
Thank you.
It's not making sense for me.
Marcel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay then, we'll come back and tie things up here in the studio. I'll start with you, Dr. Desnaja. You heard the submissions of our various contributors, and if you look at it, let me also quote Issa Funtua's interview on Arise Television, maybe shortly before he passed on. He said that the presidency of Nigeria is not turn by turn Nigeria Limited. That if you don't play politics at the center, how do you become the president? And let me ask you this question directly. Do you think that politicians from the southeast are playing politics at the center?
First of all, I think I will have to commend the guests, those who called in, especially our regular friend Marcel Enechi. Except that I would have liked him to call from Ukpabinimbo so that I'm asking for corn and groundnut. He has been a fantastic contributor to this program. So, Alex, to answer your question, we have always tried to kind of whip up sentiments and about politics and our games. We're not good team players. Even the southeastern population don't play as a team in politics. Look at what happened in 2019 general elections. According to international rating, Kingsley Moghalu, a southeasterner, was rated among the top 3 in terms of competence, in terms of intelligence, in terms of wide experience in economic management and some other things. But he did not get 1% of the vote in any of the southeastern states. That is not what it should be. If he were to be from the southwest, at least he would have won a state of solidarity to make impact in politics. Look at what happened. In 1999, the Southwest had AD that controlled all their states. When they saw what was going on, they now collapsed structures and entered AC and gradually formed the nucleus of the current party in power, APC. Now, from that moment, we had APGA. What is happening there? At the point, APGA was controlling 2 states and producing senators and members of the House of Reps. But right now, it is becoming a state party in Anambra State. And even some of the principal actors of that party are leaving to join another political party. Even when Westerners leave their nucleus party, they don't actually abandon the principles of those parties they have left that were actually anchored on team players. Okay. We don't have team players in Nigerian politics from the Southeast.
Thank you so much. Just because for want of time, I would have loved you to continue talking, but I need them to also tie up their points. Dr. Chijioke, talk to us about how, especially the Southeast, because at the end of the day, that's where there's that it is your turn to be president, and you're doing nothing about it. Is that how the Southeast will become or produce a president?
Well, just as you said in the intro, power is not given, it is taken. You know, if we are ready to participate and play real politics, we must be ready to take power. You see, what our good friend Stephen Bameyi said is very instructive. The Southeast will always compromise and undo their brothers. Look at what happened in the Second Republic under NPN presidential campaign, when, of course, the people turned against people like Mbadiwe, people like even Alex Ekweme was also picked as a vice president and all that. Look at what happened in the Just Convention, when it was between Alex Ekweme, the founder of G34, and General Obasanjo and so on. What happened? It was the same South to come within our own domain. You know, unnecessary cleavages and clannishness is all over the place. Take a look, you will see it. It is all there. We have a pull him down syndrome in the Southeast, and we need to change. But permit me to say a word to that gentleman that say we always talk in the studio and talk and do nothing. Why does he listen and listen? He should have tuned off his radio if he's not interested. People have been talking. Chief Nyanwodo has talked, president of Ohaneze. Chief Edwin Clark, leader of Niger Delta, has spoken, and many others are speaking. We are building consciousness, and that is what we will continue to do.
Thank you so much. Comrade Ken Oforma, what's the way out? How do we streamline who becomes president and from where?
I don't think it is a controversy as to how we streamline. We should continue with the convention. We know that even in 1999, somebody who is saying that Igbos don't play good politics. Yes, we may have our shortcomings, but every religion also has their own. President Obasanjo then even failed in his word. Yet he was elected president of this country by the north and the other parts of the country. So it's not about, it's about us agreeing, the political leaders having the political will to maintain justice, equity, and fair play. But there are two takeaways like my listener to go home with. One is that this comment by Mama Daura is a distraction. And this government has perfected the act of distraction. Remember last week, as the killings were happening, our military men were being killed in Katsina. They were at the National Assembly playing drama about fainting and no fainting. It is just to distract attention. And again, this week, we have issue of borrowing. National Assembly querying how you are borrowing $400 million and even trying to sell our sovereignty to China. Then this man came with this another distraction. So people will start talking what is meaningless as far as I'm concerned.
All right.
The second issue as a takeaway is that, like I said, this is a political mischief. Because when you talk about competence, and like one of the callers is laughable. So that is it. Yes, our people should gear up. We need more coordination in the Southeast and South in general, because it is this fight between the Southwest and Southeast that is creating this problem. The moment they begin to organize the moment they begin to plan, the moment they begin to cooperate, like we are beginning to see in this Ohaneze, Pandef, Middlebelt, Afenifere reunion, that is when we will realize that we have the power to also speak with force and determine where power